flip that around. Get that where you can see it. Okay. So this is the reason I said you wanted to have 6 inches worth of wire inside here. So that gives you plenty of room to move the device around and be able to work with it. Okay. So that's important, especially if you have to go back and troubleshoot a receptacle that's not working, or if later on you have to go back and replace the receptacle. It gives you extra wire if you maybe have to cut off the hook, you know, and redo that part. You've got extra wire here to work with. Okay? And so many times I've went to troubleshoot on existing wiring in a house or remodeling, and there's like literally 3 inches of wire, so barely enough to even pull the device out of the box, and it just creates a big headache, because then you don't have enough wire to do anything with. You have to pigtail every connection. It's just a big mess, so leave a little extra wire in your box. Okay? So now I'm going to do my hot connections. And again, power coming in, which is this one on top, going out on the bottom. Tighten those up. Okay, so now everything's connected. What I like to do here is to take and actually twist a couple of times the device like that. And that kind of just winds up the wires. Makes it easier to actually push it all in and install the receptacle. Okay. You don't want to twist it too many times, because that creates resistance and can cause it to heat up, but a few times is okay. So I just take my screws, mount those back in. Okay. Now that's done. I can go ahead and put my faceplate back on. Okay. Now we'll move on to the second one. So this one, same process, and except here we only have one wire we have to worry about, or one 14-2 wire to worry about. So with this one, start with my ground. Same thing, I'm going to loosen this screw, ground this box. Take my needle nose. Tighten that up. Okay, so the box is grounded now. So I can now just take my wire strippers, make my hook, tighten that now. So I go ahead and do my neutral, So on this one, I'm only got one connection for each side, so I'm only going to be using one screw, but still I like to stay consistent. So I'll bring my neutral in on the top of the receptacle. That way if I ever did come back and add another one to this, I can just come off the bottom one and still keep my same wiring method consistent with the rest of it. My hook there. Okay. Turn that around. And then my hot side. Again, I want it on the top. Twist that around one time and put that in. Okay. That one's ready to go. So if you don't know which side's hot and which side's neutral, see the video where I discuss that about the receptacle. Also, one other thing I'll mention here, I always install my receptacles this way with the ground down. Okay, that's just me, it's a personal preference. A lot of times you'll see the receptacles with the ground up. That's always an ongoing debate about which way they should be. Nowhere in code does it specify a certain direction that a receptacle has to be installed. A lot of people argue that the ground should be up. That way if whatever you have is unplugged or partially unplugged, if something were to fall down into there, it wouldn't short out. Okay, if you have the ground up, it'll hit the ground and just fall off. But if it hits the ground and slides off to the hot side, it's going to cause a short anyway. Okay, so I don't see where it's necessary, but in a lot of commercial applications, offices, hospitals, okay, you'll see it with the ground up. But I've never actually heard of an instance where something just happened to fall right down between where something was unplugged and actually caused a short. But it's really just a personal preference. Code does not state that it has to be installed a certain way. I like them this way. Okay, so just to explain that. All right. So we have everything installed. So we're ready to try this thing out. Okay, so to test this, first thing I need to do is to turn on my bus plug up here. Okay. And then turn on my breaker. Okay. So now we can test this. Take my voltage tester. So every receptacle is hot. Now I'm going to take my receptacle tester and actually verify that it is wired correctly. Okay. So you can see here the two orange lights mean that it is wired correctly. You can see there. Okay. So I want to go ahead and verify that all of them are correct, which we will do in lab also. And we're good over there. Okay? And that's it. Okay? But just because you get it working doesn't mean that lab's over. Okay? So after you do that, cut your breaker off. Turn your disconnect off. And now you get to tear it all apart. The tail box wants to come off. I'm going to take that off too. Okay, so I've got everything took back apart and cleaned up. So you need to make sure when you have finished your lab that everything is cleaned up and put back in its place. Okay, so no projects left hanging on the board here. Make sure you have all your scrap wire in the box, and as well as have the boards put back on the shelf. Okay, and make sure the floor is clean, so you sweep up. We have brooms over there in the corner to do that. Okay, so one other note I want to make is on lab, one thing you should have is closed shoes, okay, when you come into lab. So you cannot wear flip-flops, okay? So if you do come into lab wearing those, you will be asked to leave, okay? Because we cannot allow you to work here in lab with the possibility of something falling, and we don't want you to lose a toe, okay? So just make sure you have closed toe shoes, okay? I think that's pretty much it. Okay, so I have some other videos posted for the conduit labs as well as the light ballast, but this shows you how to do the wiring projects. Okay, so they're all a little bit different. So just look at the wiring diagrams to see how to do those, and check out the other videos where I talk about the specifics of the other switches and receptacles that you'll be wiring. But as far as the whole process, this was just to kind of show you the whole process of how lab will work. Okay, alrighty, well that's it for this video. Bye for now.